Hey, what's up, Burn-In teachers? Welcome to episode 186 of the Burn-In Teacher Podcast. I am so excited that you're here joining us for the Hacking Teacher Burnout Summer Book Study Series. Today, I am going to be setting you up for success by letting you know what is in store for you and I for the rest of this summer 2023 as we go chapter by chapter, step by step through my book, Hacking Teacher Burnout, using my Hacking Teacher Burnout book study guide. So I promised that these episodes were going to be short and sweet and to the point. So let's dive into this episode. I'll see you inside. Your choice to begin and continue working in education should not be taken lightly. But how do you manage it all while keeping that fire burning bright so you can show up in your classroom and in life as your best self every day? That's what this show is all about. Welcome to the Burned-In Teacher Podcast. I'm Amber Harper, classroom teacher, author of Hacking Teacher Burnout, and with more and more teachers quitting the profession or accepting #teacher misery as their forever reality, I step in as your teacher burnout coach to help you take your next best steps to creating a happier and more fulfilled career and life. Now, let's take one more step forward and out of burnout together so we can burn on. Shall we? Let's go. All right, Burn-In teachers, we're going to get started right away. And I have to admit and be honest with you, I'm recording this episode in May. You know, I'm a huge fan of batching and blocking and planning ahead. And I am also setting myself up for this summer. And I'm recording this episode on May 10th. And knowing that this episode is airing today and it's in your ears on June 3rd gets me so excited. Working as a teacher, for me, one of the biggest perks is having summers off. And I truly do take the summer off. And I do use a lot of that time to catch up on work for all of you out there in the world, but I take full advantage of being able to sleep in a little bit, do what I want, when I want, and I hope that the same is happening for you. And if you haven't started your summer break yet, I know that it's right around the corner, and I am sending you positive vibes as you finish out your school year. Now, one thing I want to let you know is even though I'm pre-recording the meat and potatoes of these episodes, I'm going to be popping in here and inserting some updates and some spotlights on content that you are posting inside of the Burned-In Teacher Podcast Facebook community. So if you are not in there already, I would really love for you to go to facebook.com/groups/burnedinteacher. I'm going to be asking you to do little challenges within the podcast Facebook community, and I would love to highlight your thoughts, your wins, some of the images that we may ask you to share within the Facebook community. And so throughout the summer, I will be popping in here and inserting little spotlights and highlights of all of your thoughts and your wins and pictures that you share with me. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into today's content. So part of preparing for today, June 3rd, book club meeting number 1 was to read the foreword, the prologue, and the introduction of the book. So if you've not read pages 9 through 29, it's not a huge deal. You're not in trouble, but I do want to let you know that those are the pages that we are going to be going over today. And I'm going to be asking you some thought-provoking questions about the content. So in the foreword, my friend Gretchen shares the realities of so many new teachers on pages 9 through 14. She was new to education, she had high ambitions, and then the realities of most schools settle in. Now, I've only ever worked in Title I or very close to Title I schools, so I don't know anything different. And part of me is super grateful because I've heard what life is like in schools that are not Title I. But I also really enjoy working in Title I schools, but it can be a real culture shock. My first years of teaching were actually in the school district that I graduated from, so I was very comfortable with the population of students, and I was very familiar with what they looked like, sounded like, and acted like. But this can be a real culture shock, as it was for Gretchen. So what connections do you have to the expectations that you had for your career compared to the reality, like Gretchen's? I would love to hear about this in the podcast Facebook community. And then in the prologue, pages 15 through 17, I share a story of Valerie. And quite frankly, I came up with this scenario because even though I had already started publishing this book long before COVID, times 10 put it on rush because of the pandemic. So the book was released in 2020. And so even though many of us are not working from home as Valerie was, what resonated with you in terms of the blurred boundaries and the lines that Valerie, was dealing with in her situation? It was obviously very stressful. So did you relate to her solutions at the end? And would you like to see solutions come together for you and your journey? Because that's what this is all about, seeing the possibilities. And what words come to mind as you read this? Did it bring up any bad memories of your experiences teaching through the pandemic? Or were you like me? Were you not in the classroom at that time? I had left the classroom in 2018 to pursue Google training and Burn and Teacher full time, and I did not return until 2021. So some of us were not there, but God, was it so hard to watch. All right, and finally, we're going to go through the introduction. This was pages 19 through 29. So this section of the book focuses on you starting right smack dab into where you are now. So I ask you to do several things in this introduction. So in the intro, I explained that there are 3 different types of burnout. You may have heard me talk about these, and ask you to decide what you're feeling right now. So not how you want to feel, but literally right now, the real raw reality that you're in at this very moment. So that's what I want you to do first. And then I explain the stages of burnout. So I explain each stage in detail. Oh, by the way, if you want an even more depth description of the stages of burnout, go to TPT and down the free stages ebook that will tell you all the things that you can think, say, and do to try to move through those stages even faster. Again, you can find that on TPT and it's free. So why do you believe that you're in the stage that you're in? And what proof do you have that you're in stage 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? All right, I'm assuming if you're joining this book club that you've never read the book before. You might be new to Burned In Teacher. So you're probably at a stage 1 or 2. Typically is where people find me and join in the community in some fashion. So now let's talk about goals. This is so exciting because even though some of you aren't quite done with your school year yet, you can still dream about what you want your goals to be for reading this book. Do you want to finish it before the book study is done? Do you want to take 1 action per chapter? Do you want to see massive changes in your attitude or behavior? There are no wrong answers. This is your race and your pace. And I don't even like to say race because this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And it may take longer than this summer for you to gain all of the clarity that you need to know what it is that you want your career in education to look like. So finally, what changes do you hope to see once you finish Hacking Teacher Burnout this time around? This could be your first or your 5th time reading the book. And we are all at different types and stages. So really think about this. All right. And finally, what do you want to be noticeably different by the time you finish this book? I really want you to dream and create a vision for yourself for this summer. What do you want to say is different about your life by the time we finish this book? I don't want this book and this experience to be quote unquote shelf help. Okay, I don't want that kind of experience for you. What I want is for this to be the book that truly helps you to work on yourself and your career. So you can enter the new school year with strategies and habits that you've never had before, or you maybe had before, but you've fallen out of habit. All right, Burned In Teachers, that's all for this book club meeting. So join us next week when we dive into hack number 1, begin where you are. So you'll be reading pages 31 through 47, and I highly encourage you to use the Hacking Teacher Burnout book study guide that you can find on Teachers Pay Teachers. Use the pages to get all those thoughts that have been jumbled up in your head onto paper. I promise you, you're going to see things differently and in a totally new way than you ever have before, and that is a great thing, my friend. And hey, if you're wanting to engage in conversation about what you're reading and writing about, head over to the Burned In Teacher podcast Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/Burned In Teacher. We're asking questions, we're offering up some Burned In Teacher challenges, and I am so excited to see how you're engaging with this book. All right, my friends, take a deep breath because you just took another step to becoming a Burned In Teacher. I'll see you next week. Burn on. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. To keep this conversation going, connect with me on Instagram @BurnedInTeacher. I'm always ready and willing to have a conversation with you about your burnout and ways I can help you to move through it. If you're looking for support in growing through your burnout in ways you never thought possible, check out my online course, Burned In Teacher University, at burnedinteacher.com/course. I'll see you in the next episode. Burn on.